Last week, we packed up the family truckster and hit the road with the Griswolds for a cross-country adventure in National Lampoon's Vacation. And we got to share a few laughs with our cousins, Hal and Tracy.
Yes, it was so much fun reminiscing about those unforgettable childhood vacations with them. But this week, sister, we're trading in the highway for hard knocks.
Oh my gosh, that's right, y'all. I have been waiting to get to this very special movie, so near and dear to my heart. We are heading to the 1930s New York City to follow the adventures of a little red-headed child who stole the hearts of audiences everywhere. Little orphan Annie.
And she definitely stole your heart, sister. This was your movie. You were obsessed.
I was ridiculously obsessed.
Yep.
Like, real fans, I drove my sister crazy, who was 8 years older than me. Remember when I would talk like Annie and I would be like,
leaping
lizards.
Yes, of course.
And I had an Annie bedspread, an Annie pillow. I had an Annie dress. I had an Annie wig because I dressed up like Annie for a talent show.
Which we talked about last week with Hal and Tracy
That's
on
right.
the cruise ship.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I had like a Annie sweatsuit, jumpsuit get up.
Yep.
I will remember
Yep.
as a child, I don't know what magazine it was in. I feel like maybe it was like a People magazine or something. I don't know. But it was all about the auditions for Annie. And I remember staring at that magazine article and looking at the pictures of the little girls waiting in line and just being completely obsessed and thinking how cool it would have been to be a part of it.
You really were a part of it. And I know we'll talk more about your obsession as we go. And you can bet your bottom dollar. See what I did there? You can bet your bottom dollar that this is going to be a good one. So let's get started.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s.
Welcome back to Real Sisters Rewind, back to the 80s, the podcast for people who love movies and wish they were as good now as they were back then. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. If you're loving the podcast, we'd be so grateful if you'd give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review. It helps other 80 movies lovers find us, and we're sending out real stickers for every 5-star review. So just take a screenshot, email it to hello@realsistersrewind.com, and we'll pop one in the mail for you.
That's right, sister. And, I know you named this a couple of episodes ago, but, or a few episodes ago, I think it was our Karate Kid episode. Someone was asking me yesterday about our listeners, and I was saying how we have international listeners all over the world. And it's just the coolest thing to know that there are people all over the world listening. So thank you to our, United States listeners and our international listeners. This week, we are diving into a movie that is so near and dear to my childhood heart.
If you haven't figured that out yet, listeners, by the way.
I mean, you're right. I'm not sure there was a child on this planet more obsessed with Annie than I was. I just loved it so much.
That is absolutely true. You were obsessed, and I am so excited to bring that obsession to a whole new generation. Because today, sister, we have two very special guests joining us, don't we?
Yes, I'm about to pop out of my seat because we've had Mama Lottie on. We've had our husbands on. We've had your boys on and nephews. Yep. We haven't had my boys on yet.
Not yet.
Today, we get my girls, Savannah and Madison, and I just really never thought this would happen.
Welcome. This is like a dream for your mom and me. The two sisters, to have the two sisters.
The two sisters. The sisters and the sisters.
Are y'all glad to be here?
Yes, I'm excited. Annie's I feel like Annie's where it all began,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, the thing is that really and truly, it's so interesting because I was obsessed with Annie, but Annie is really also, I feel like, special to you all because you
Oh
loved the
yeah.
movie growing up, but you both were in two different musical theater performances of Annie. Madison was an orphan in both. And once Savannah in the junior version, you were Lily St. Regis, but then in the main stage version with all the grown-ups, you were both orphans and you were Savannah, you were July
I
in the
was July.
musical. Yeah.
She was in the movie. She was a quiet one in the movie, but she was in the movie.
She was in the
Okay. Well,
movie. So
okay.
cool. So we know you girls are love Annie like your mom. You loved the movie and you were in the play twice. But tell us about you right now, like a quick 30-second version. So we always start with the big sister. Let's start with the little sister.
Okay, go Maddie.
All
You
right,
got this.
Madison.
um, I'm not really into theater, but I play some sports. I'm about to go to camp and I'm going into my senior year.
Yeah, you're
So-
going to be a camp counselor all summer, right?
Yes, girl.
That's going to be so great. How do
I
you
know,
feel about
right?
that, Mama?
I miss her desperately. She will be gone pretty much the whole summer, like 8 weeks.
With
But
that.
yeah, she won't be a camper. She's like in
Head honcho.
charge. Yeah,
In
head
charge.
honcho. So yeah, she's our sports girl and our camper girl and
And going
transitioning
into her senior
year. Yeah.
Woohoo. All right, Madison, do you want to
Oh.
introduce your big sister?
Sure. This is my sister Savannah, and she's
Take it away. Yeah.
Poor Maddie. I feel like she just, we dragged her to come do Annie with us for like both times. We were like, you just have to come do it. But I am a recent graduate. I had the best senior year
Woohoo,
ever.
congratulations.
I'm going to Southern Miss in the fall at Hattiesburg, and I love singing. I love performing, but I can get down on the soccer field and
No, she can't.
and just a cheerleader.
So you're saying you're a little sporty too.
Well, maybe not sporty, more like spirit. Let's say spirited. Spirited.
Spirit-filled.
Spirited.
Spirit,
But
yeah.
Maddie, I will say, as you're saying, no, she can't. She really took one for the team, took one for you. She made
Yeah.
a sacrifice for you to play soccer so
She
y'all
did.
would have enough for a team. So,
And I was not
So-
that terrible, Maddie.
so spirited is a good word. And I will say, Maddie, you had fun doing Annie, even though they didn't
Yeah.
drop into it.
You had
Yeah.
so much fun.
Because I remember, and I know we'll probably get more into this as we talk about the movie, but I remember you telling me you weren't going to do it again, but you did, and you were the cutest orphan on the stage for sure. So I think it's just perfect, Amanda. You've got your childhood obsession you were able to watch your girls step into those roles. And I'm just excited to have this episode this week with all of y'all. It's going to be
I
fun.
know.
I
Me
can't
too.
wait.
Me too. It's going to be so fun to relive the magic of Annie with my favorite girls.
That's right. All right, real fans, grab your cleaning buckets and warm up those vocal cords. It's time to rewind back to 1982 with Annie.
Okay, so the exact release date of the movie Annie in 1982 was May 17th, 1982, and that was the New York premiere. And we've talked about this before, how they would release it in major cities first, or the film, and this is what they used to do in the 80s, girls, and probably prior to, they would release the movie in major cities first, and then they would release it to all us like country folk or small town folk after that. So on May 21st, it was for national release in the whole United States. And I was 5 that year.
Wow.
And so I would have been about 13.
But had I turned 6 at that point, maybe if it was in
No,
May?
because it was in May. So I
Oh,
think
so it's
you
5.
were
Yeah,
5
I had not
going,
turned
turning
6
on,
yet.
turning into 6. And so one of the things, girls, we know you listen every week to our podcast, is we always talk about the first time we saw it. Amanda, I'm thinking you absolutely saw it in theaters, and I'm thinking it was with Aunt Sis the first time. Am I right?
Yeah, I mentioned this before when we were just talking about the like 80s of it all, going to the movies, because girls, it was a whole different ball game.
It really was.
It was an event. There was no looking on your phone,
I know this story.
ordering seats online. There was none of that, right? So you would just look at the marquee and see what the times were. Or what you would do is you would pull out the newspaper, and there was a huge spread of the movie theaters. Well, I guess if you had more than one movie theater, which we did, with the movie theater, the shows that were on at that theater and the times. And you would have to take yourself to the theater and wait in line to buy tickets at that
I
time.
love this story.
And there was a time a little bit later though, Missy, where you could call.
Yeah.
Remember?
And they would
And get
hold
the times.
tickets. Yeah.
That was later. But anyway, I believe it was a Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which, but Aunt Sis was at our house and she opened that newspaper across the orange carpet, and it was behind the couch where Daddy's chair and Mama sat on the couch. It was behind there. She opened it up, and there was Annie. And I was like, oh my gosh, we were so excited. We were going to see it. We got in the car. We went all the way. I know 100% for sure it was at Broad Acres, no question.
Okay.
And we parked. It was a madhouse. Like, it was
Sure.
crazy packed, really long line. We get up to the window and it was sold out.
Oh, it's
Oh,
devastating.
Mama.
I cried. I was devastated. And I don't remember if it was like the next week when Mom took me. And I feel like when I went later, it was with maybe Aunt Teresa and Carla. I don't remember
maybe
exactly,
so.
or maybe it was Aunt Sis that did take me. But it was like I had to wait like till the next week or something. And it was just devastating. But y'all, it was worth the wait, because after that showing, I was
Obsessed.
in.
She was hooked.
Obsessed.
She was hooked.
I was hooked,
Hooked.
line, and sinker. There was
You
no
were
turning back.
an Annie super fan.
Mhm.
I have no idea the first time I saw it. I probably went to see it when I was 13.
You think?
Maybe took some kids I babysat with, maybe took you back, maybe we went back and Mom took us. I don't know. I feel like I saw it in the theaters, but I saw it so many times as you grew up that
You
I
saw
can't-
it on the TV many a time.
I have blocked it from my memory of the first time I saw it. But girls, what about you? Savannah, do you remember the first time you saw it? I mean, let me tell you, your mom indoctrinated you, so it may
I was
have
about to say, I feel like we watched it like pretty young,
So
as
many
young as like
times.
as young as like our princess movies. Like I remember we would watch our princess movies, but the only other movie we'd watch besides the princess movies would be Annie.
Annie.
So I feel like
Raising them right.
yeah. But I also have a lot of distinct memories of like watching it with Mama Lottie.
I
Like
do
I
too.
feel like that was a movie that she would constantly put on for us at her house. And especially if we were going to Gaucher, I have a very vivid memory of us being in the back seat because she checked us out of school from M&M Learning Factory, and she picked us up, and we were only at pre-K for like a day, or not a day, like an hour.
I remember that.
It was so short, and we were on the way to Gaucher, and she put Annie on in the car, and I don't know why, but like maybe it's because we had to pause it to go out to the bathroom. But I was so mad because like I just want to finish Annie. I mean, I had already seen it a million times, but
I remember that story because
That's
y'all were
when you were
so
in your
pumped that she
toddler
checked y'all
age.
out.
What about,
Yeah.
do you remember, Madison? Like, was it your go-to, or were you just like, Savannah always wants to watch it, so I'll watch it? What do you remember about seeing
I just
one of
watched
the
whatever
first times?
Nana put on.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
did what she told
It's
me to
always
do.
that little sweet sister. Oh my
It's
gosh.
true. Like Madison would have, like, whatever.
Yeah.
It was, but I will say, when y'all say the princess movies, also Barbie princess movies.
Yeah. Barbie
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
Barbie movies.
Hmm.
Well, when we think about that special day, Amanda, you might call it a sacred day, May 21st, 1982. The number one song on American Top
Top
40
40.
was Ebony and Ivory by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder. And I don't know why I
Ebony.
always think of that as being Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, but it's Stevie Wonder.
No, that's the other one about The Girl Is Mine.
Yeah, but to me in my mind, it's always Ebony and Ivory. The number one
Oh, that's
TV
funny.
show, we've said it so often, it was Dallas. It was we don't it was probably in reruns at the time, and we weren't Dallas fans because we girls didn't get CBS out in Oak Grove. We had ABC and NBC and PBS, so we didn't
And that was
watch
it.
Dallas. And then on the cover of the People magazine, the week the movie came out was Tony Geary, who was Luke from Luke and Laura. And I think he must have just left because the headline says that he's looking for life after Luke. But the real People magazine was a little delayed. Amanda, you probably have this somewhere in your keepsake.
Maybe this is the one I was talking about.
Maybe so. It's July 12th. It was the July 12th issue. Annie was on it with Eileen Quinn, and it was talking about how she sparkles in the biggest musical ever.
Well, and I've got some things to say about that too, because this was like one of the first movie musicals where they
Yes,
like
it
took it
was.
from. Yeah, so it was really. After rewatching, I mean, I have so much to say. I was like, this was really a good movie, really interesting. So, real quick, I did want to say about the General Hospital guy, Luke. Luke and Laura were like the Bo and Hope of Days
Oh,
of Our
yeah,
Lives,
for sure.
of General Hospital.
They
I
were
totally
the
remember that.
ABC version of Bo and Hope, the NBC
Uh-huh.
version. Mm-hmm.
And I do remember, like, we didn't record General Hospital, but somehow I remember seeing some. Maybe it was when I would go down to Mama Mac's trailer.
Oh, yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
a matter of
feel
fact,
like-
Days of Our Lives came a little bit later, sister.
Oh, okay. That's it then. So, with a lot of, like we were talking about with the movie being the first musical turned movie musical, as we talk about it, there's like some cool, interesting facts I think that we'll be able to bring in and talk about, which I think is really cool. But okay, so more interesting things about 1982. As we've talked about, fast food really took off in the 80s. And around 82, when Annie came out, we saw a rise in like low calorie / diet foods like Tab.
I loved
Gross.
Tab. I
I
loved
know.
Tab. I've got my Diet Coke right now, but if Tab were still around, I'd have it.
Well, do they make it? I want to Google it. Let's find out.
I
Do
think they do. I think you can get Tab sometimes, some places.
Ugh. So
But that's
gross.
kind of ironic, right? Because you just were saying that fast food chains were booming.
But
but
right, weren't they more? I mean, they
Got
really were.
Tab, and is that what anything else?
So
like,
Tab, lean cuisine.
ah,
Do you remember teachers
oh,
loved to bring a lean cuisine to the teachers
Yes.
lounge with their Tab and their cigarettes?
yes, girls. Do y'all even know what a Tab is or
No,
lean
not at
cuisine?
all.
What about a lean
know what-
cuisine?
I know what that is.
Yeah.
You know what
Like,
that
is it
is?
like-
Yeah,
Is it like Hamburger Helper?
No.
No.
it's like a
like-
little frozen meal that's supposed
yeah,
to
that you
be
put it
low
in the-
calorie. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And what another thing, Amanda, that makes that ironic is about the same time everybody was getting physical, right? Like you had
Oh, yes.
the aerobics and fitness, and you had your leg warmers coming on, and the videotaped exercise videos. Because
Oh,
girls, your mom would sit around And
I would not sit around.
no, she would get up and dance around and she did all these crazy things with her eyes and her neck and she was creating fitness videos. And they were adorable, sister.
Well, they were not adorable, but that's what they would have, all these commercials for people making these fitness videos.
Yeah.
And we had some fitness videos. So I would just leave my own fitness video and have Mama Lottie record it. I thought it was the best thing ever. It was my entertainment. But also, sister, when you talk about the fitness classes, and that was like really, I think, also like blasted off with the fitness of like leg warmers and those I guess parachute pants, but also those headbands y'all would wear.
Yeah.
Because you had to block the sweat.
Yeah.
With the braided
That's why I wore it
headband.
for my cheerleading tryout, because I didn't want sweat to get in my eyes.
But you know what else was around that time for kids that was right on trend with that? Do you remember Get in Shape Girl?
Absolutely
Get in
not.
shape, girl. And it was marketed as a toy for young girls. And in a box, you could buy like the ribbon with the Get in Shape Girl exercise tape, or the like there were all these like little exercise things you could buy. And it was Get in Shape Girl. And that was the song.
I did not.
Yes.
I've never heard about that. Madison Grace could be a Get in Shape girl for them to model a toy after.
I know.
Y'all are nice.
Oh my gosh. Well, you could be. And Savannah, you and I are the ones who we weren't making aerobics videos.
No. Hey, I was walking around singing Tomorrow. That's what I was
right.
doing.
You were. You know what is so interesting though? I've thought about this a lot, is how your mom loved to do that. She would always like pretend like she was making videos. If we had been born when you girls were born, we would have been tearing up that iPhone, recording videos of ourselves doing crazy things like that. Do y'all make videos, or do y'all remember a time of making like videos like that?
Whenever you're younger.
Yeah, when we were younger, for sure.
Do you remember anything specific that you guys did that was funny?
Yes, I do. We had family friends over. Mr. Josh Stenson, who y'all had on here, his family, they came over and we filmed like this like horror movie. And keep in mind, we were all like fourth grade and below, and we had like police and like
it was just the kids, not the parents.
Yeah. We had Dylan, our younger brother, who was like 4 at the time, drinking like a wine bottle because he was like the drunk convict or whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It was so funny.
Do y'all still have it somewhere, like on a device?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Madison, what role did you play?
Oh, I actually went to bed early that night because I was tired of everyone being at our house.
Oh, only Madison would be like, I'm done with this. I'm going to bed.
I'm going to bed. That's what she would do, y'all. She'd be like, all right, this is enough. I'm going to bed. The other video y'all did make, remember, with your babysitter?
With our babysitter. We had a babysitter that we loved.
Y'all, you were in that one, Maddie, but y'all did make little, because they had iMovies. So they had like the template you would use. And they had their iPads, so they would use that movie template and make all kind of movies.
Oh, that would have been so fun.
Yeah,
that would have been so fun.
It was a hoot. Okay, so also around this time, we have some natural disasters, big weather events. There was a severe heat wave in the United States where temperatures were reaching record highs. Do you remember that, Missy?
It seems like I do, but whenever you had mentioned that you were going to talk about that, I guess that's going to be your political piece for this one. But it made me think, well, what better way to cool off in the summer than going to a movie and sitting in the ice cold
theater?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I definitely don't remember that, but I do wonder, like at that time, I bet there were like electrical, like blackouts. And
there were, I think, especially like in big cities. But I just think about now, there's such talk about global warming, and we had heat waves back in the day too. Probably the real fans are going to reach out to me and say heat wave is not global warming, and I'm going to get some bad slack on that. But
Nah.
let's talk about some movie facts. Y'all want to?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes,
the
it does.
movie was written by Thomas Meehan, and it was based on the comic strip Little Orphan Annie. And so he wrote the screenplay, and the
Oh, I have a question. Do
okay,
you know? Because talking about this, because I'm just curious if, okay, so he wrote it, because I read that too, based on the comic strip, but then I just had the thought, I wonder if he wrote it from the musical too. Like if he used that as a,
Well, I know that the musical came first. Like
well,
the
yeah, I know that too,
like
but that's what I'm saying. So I wonder if he took the strip and the
well, he
storyline
had
from,
to because the only characters that were in the actual comic strip, I read this in research, were Little Orphan Annie, Daddy Warbucks, and like two
Sandy.
others,
I think
probably
Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy, but Miss Hannigan maybe and Grace. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but I bet that the screenplay definitely brought in
Went
a
from the
lot
musical.
of the musical. Yeah. And it was directed by John Huston.
Yes, it was. And I actually read that John Huston was actually known for directing a lot of like more serious, dark
Yeah, like the
stories.
African Queen with Katharine Hepburn.
Mhm.
Like that's
Mhm.
no Little Orphan Annie right there.
No, and that there were a lot of questions like what like kind of like what was his motivation for wanting to do it, and maybe was it money? We'll talk more about money though, because that's an interesting
It is
thing
an
about.
interesting piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the main stars of the movie, of course, Annie. She was only 10 years old when she was cast in the film, and that was Eileen. I guess you say it, Eileen.
I think
Or don't-
so, Eileen.
Yeah, Eileen Quinn. And she was,
You should know. You're the super fan. What in the world?
I know. But of course, she had to audition multiple times. And I think this is really interesting. So I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to go back to what I think is really interesting. So the auditions for the title role spanned over 2 years, 22 cities, 8,000 interviews, and 70 actresses. And then they
That's
narrowed it down.
crazy.
And then they narrowed it down to 9 actresses that made it to the second round. Drew Barrymore was one. Kristen Chenoweth auditioned for Annie, but she was turned down because of her thick Southern accent.
Bless her heart.
I think I read about that in her book. I think she talks about that in her book.
But she
Mhm.
comes back and she plays a role in Annie later. I think she played Lily St. Regis in 1999.
I was
In
going
the
to say
1999 version?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Mm.
I was going to say
I've
it
never
would
seen
have
that
to
one.
be
What's the
Lily,
1999 version?
It came back to Broadway.
like a
Oh,
No,
it's not
or-
a movie.
Are y'all talking about because y'all know there's 3 Annie movies.
yeah, but she's talking about the what do you call it when they come back? What's it called?
Like the revival on Broadway.
Yes, thank you. I was about to. I was
Now,
saying
I
it
may
in
be
my mind,
wrong. Maybe Kristen
revitalization.
Chenoweth was in
Wait.
the movie version, but
Savannah, find out for us.
yeah,
But she
do
was.
the research there, Savannah.
Yeah, that when you said came back, I was like, oh, she had to be Lily St. Regis. That would make so much sense. But here's the thing that I think is interesting, okay? Because I believe, if I'm remembering correctly from what I read, this audition process was kind of the same for the main orphans, not just Annie. Like it was a 2-year span.
Uh-huh.
And I was saying this to Savannah earlier today, like thinking about when my girls did Annie, and you go to auditions, and then you like the show's not until several months later or whatever. And even then, with a show it was a community theater, there had to be consideration about their size.
Yeah, of course.
And so I'm
Oh my
thinking like
gosh. Oof.
if this was a 2-year span, I mean, can you imagine being one of the little girls and just being like, man, I hope I don't grow? Because
You're right, I didn't think about that.
if she had just sprouted up, which you don't know if somebody's going to or not, but if she had just sprouted up, then she would have not been able to be Annie. Like,
Yeah.
in fact, the girl who played Pepper was Annie on Broadway at one point, but she was too big to be Annie in the musical. In the movie, and so she was
Mhm.
Pepper.
Interesting.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, if they I found a 10-year-old 2 years prior to the movie being filmed, and she was perfect. 2 years later, by the time she's 12, she can't play her anymore.
She could be
It's
a
such
young woman in those 2 years,
That's right.
right?
Well,
oh, I found out about okay.
okay, go ahead. Tell no,
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 no.
tell us.
So I found out about Christian Chenoweth. I didn't think that she was ever in the Broadway show because the Broadway show closed before the original Broadway cast closed before the movie, I think, was even
Okay.
like
A
on
thing.
its feet. The only revival they've had of Annie was in 2012. So whenever y'all said revival in 1999, I was like, there was no revival
So
cast
was
of
that the
Annie.
second movie?
It was the second movie when
Gotcha.
Disney like I guess got the rights and made their own version of it. I've never seen that one, and I don't
Me
think
haven't
I really
either.
I don't really
Well,
care
I kind of
to.
want to because I love Kristen Chenoweth.
I've seen the other Annie, the 2014 one, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's hard because you get attached to the
you do.
original.
And you have in your mind
Like
what
an
you want
image.
it to be. And when it's not that, you sometimes are disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, Daddy Warbucks was played by Albert Finney, and he actually shaved his head to play the role. And so when Eileen Quinn was at the premiere, his hair had grown back, and y'all, she didn't recognize him. And so I thought that was funny. But Jack Nicholson signed on to play Daddy Warbucks, but dropped out because an original producer left the production.
Thank God.
Oh,
He
can
would
you?
have
I
been.
cannot imagine. I cannot imagine him as Daddy Warbucks.
Is he the guy from The Shining?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Red rum,
No.
red rum.
Yep. Well, Carol Burnett. Oh, what a treasure.
Oh,
So amazing.
Miss Hannigan. Like so much to say about her.
yeah.
And then Tim
Well,
Curry.
I was going to say one thing about her, and I know we'll talk about it throughout, but she was a real advocate for those kids, even though she played this mean part. Like there was one scene I read about where Annie, I think she's like going up a ladder trying to, and there was a like a manhole under her that wasn't covered. And Carol Burnett refused to do the scene until they covered that up. So she was a real advocate for the kids that were on set.
And I'll say, like, I feel like, and again, obviously working in film's a lot different than like working in like I guess like live performing. But like, it's really hard, like being an advocate for yourself as a child performer because you just want to like please the people that you're working for. And you just want to like do whatever they say because you're just like so hungry for like being on stage and being a performer. And like, you just want to make them happy. So you're not going to cause a ruckus being like, oh, this isn't safe, or I shouldn't be doing this, or like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. You just want to do it because you're so excited to be there and you're so excited to do what you love. So it's good that like, that makes me happy to hear that, like,
That's such interesting perspective because it really puts, and you've had a microcosm of that, Savannah. I mean, I know you've had so many roles, but just the idea that you're like, I don't want to rock any waves.
No.
I don't want to make waves. I'm not going to tell them I'm tired or I'm hungry or I don't want to do that. Explains a lot that is happening and we're finding out about in culture these days of something that have happened to child actors.
Yeah, because you just want to do what you love and you're like, I'm not going to do anything to,
Rock
because
the
every
boat.
other kid around you is just as hungry for it as you are. And you're like,
Wow.
I'm not.
I would even say, Savannah and Maddie, you can speak to this if you want, but I would even say for you, Maddie, like I wouldn't say like you weren't a kid that was like, oh, I'm hungry for the spotlight. But even you, when you're in that environment, I would say you fall in line with it.
Yeah, you just do what you're told.
Yeah. You don't want to be the kid that makes trouble.
No, not at all.
So,
well,
interesting.
It is interesting. Well, Rooster was played by Tim Curry, and he's actually not listed as one of the main characters, but I think he deserves to be mentioned here because he's got such an iconic like look to him and the way he plays that role. But we know him now. He's most popular, I think, for Rocky Horror Picture Show. Girls, have
Yes.
y'all ever seen Rocky Horror?
No, but I know the poster and I like
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And but Steve Martin was offered the role and he turned it down because Bernadette Peters was playing the role of, was she playing Lily St. John?
Lily St.
And
Regis.
St. Regis, yes. And y'all, he they had broken up. They had been dating and he felt like it would be too painful to work for her
Aw.
with her for
Um,
several months.
well, I'm glad it was Tim Curry. He as Rooster is just it's perfect.
He is perfect.
And
Yeah.
she is like Bernadette Peters as Lily is perfect too.
And
I
that's
was
what you played, Savannah. I'm sorry, Amanda.
No,
It
I was just
was.
about to say, I mean, we were saying Carol Burnett, like, oh, chef's kiss. Like, I feel like Carol Burnett, Bernadette Peters, and the lady that played Grace Farrell, and Ranking, I think is how you say her name,
Uh-huh.
like such musical, like they are true, like musical theater talents.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh
And
yeah.
to
Well, I
have
know
them be
that
part of the movie is huge because but Albert Finney was not a musical theater person.
No.
well, I know that Anne, what's her last name? Anne Rankin?
I think it's
I
Ranking.
think it is.
Ranking.
Well, she was on Broadway. Like she was in Chicago and
Hmm.
she was either Velma or Roxy for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then we saw Bernadette Peters on Broadway and Hello
She's
Dolly. Like,
amazing.
oh, she's incredible. Like hands down incredible. Amazing. Mhm.
Yeah. So I think it's a real treat to be able to have them be part of the movie for
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
But okay, so the rating was G for general audiences, thank goodness. And I think this was before PG-13. I get our years mixed up, but girls, this was like back in the day when we just had G, PG, or R. And
Mhm.
so this was G.
But they changed it to PG. They actually added the lines, G damn it, and come back here, you GD
UGD
kid.
kid, right? And so
Because
they had to change it
they
to PG.
wanted, but they did it on purpose.
Oh, because
Because
they
they
wanted,
thought parents would only take really small children to see it if it was G rated.
like they would think it was
Mhm.
a baby movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
It's
that's
too
and
scary to be a
it is
G
scary.
movie. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
it
the
do- it-
ending.
Yeah. It's
Maddie
scary.
you were just talking about
It used
that.
to scare me.
What
You
part
won't see it.
scared you, Maddie?
The end where she's like climbing up is it the train track?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So
like a
scary.
And it's up and she's hanging off.
Yeah. I hate
Yeah.
it.
And it's like wet.
It
And
made
oh
my
God.
palms sweat.
Me too.
Yeah, her hand, and she's like crying. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, don't.
Yeah, it's scary. But so the runtime of the movie is an hour and 39 minutes. Sweet
Sweet
spot.
spot.
We love that. And it was when I was rewatching, I was like, this pacing and this timing is spot on.
Yes. Well,
For sure.
the movie budget was over 35 million and it grossed 103 million at the box office. Despite the fact that it was the 10th biggest grossing movie of 1982, it didn't make a profit because apparently the production costs, and they had like 1,800 people or something like working on the set and the production. I'm sure they've made their money back now, but at the time, it was not a financial success.
They went over budget.
Right. They went over budget.
Well, part of it, Missy, I read was it sounds like people, like manpower. I think the sets were incredible.
Mhm.
And then also apparently the rights to the musical, they had to get the rights
Oh.
were a huge chunk of the budget.
Those things are expensive. Like it's insane how expensive those are.
Yeah. So that was a huge part of it. In the mansion, Daddy Warbucks mansion is a real mansion and it is part of Monmouth College and they were really filming there. So no telling how much,
Yeah.
who knows what the cost of that would have been as well.
You know what I say, girls? Road trip. We need to go to the mansion at Monmouth
Yeah.
College and do a little
Let's do it.
We got
research and
Annie.
development. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. Well, were there any nominations or awards? What do y'all think, girls?
I think
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Well, you were correct. The movie received 2 Academy Award nominations for Best Original Song, Tomorrow, Is Tomorrow not in the musical?
Oh
No,
no,
it
it's in
is.
the oh, it is. That's why I'm like kind of surprised that it won Best Original
Maybe they
Song.
maybe
Maybe they
they
tweaked it up some.
tweaked it.
No,
Yeah,
it's the exact same. It's the
interesting.
exact same writing. It's the exact same key and everything. Maybe
Well,
not the exact same key, but like it's the same. That's
it's this.
weird.
Well,
Maybe it's because it's not
maybe
like
because it was original to the film. I don't know,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
they won for Best Original Song and Best Supporting Actress. It was nominated for. It was Carol Burnett. Bravo. And Eileen Quinn won a Young Artist Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture. Also,
Oh,
the film's
good.
costume designer, which I also think was spot on,
I
uh,
agree.
Theone V. Aldridge won an Academy Award for her work on the movie. So she actually won an award for that work. So, all
Well,
right, y'all.
oh, wait,
Oh,
I
go
have
ahead.
something else to say.
Oh, say it.
I have to say, there was another award that was won. John Huston won a Razzie
Oh,
for,
no.
yeah, for like worst something. I don't know exactly what it was, but he won a Razzie.
Well, I object to that because I
What's a
think
Razzie?
it was really good. Tell her what a Razzie is, sister.
It's like a mock award. In other words, like it's for the worst. So they call it a Razzie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, but I'm like, it really is a good movie.
It
So
really is. Well, I say let's go talk about that
let's
movie.
dive in.
And
Let's do it.
you know what we need to do? We need to go to the movies. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
On three.
Ready?
1, 2, 3. Let's go to the movies. Yay! All right, well, let's jump into the movie, sister. It opens up at the orphanage, and Molly, cute little Molly, she's the cutest thing. She has had a nightmare, and sweet Annie is comforting her. And we see these terrible living conditions. And this is where we get to hear it's one of my favorite songs of the movie, maybe, where Annie is giving us a look into her life and hoping that her parents will come for her.
Yeah. And I immediately in this part, I was already, as soon as I saw all these little girls laying in the
Oh, I know.
bed, and I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm here for this.
So cute.
It was so, so, so cute. Well, then we get from, she's really talking about how she's hoping her parents are going to come. And Molly is, of course, like, you're the only one who's got folks, Annie. And there's that whole conversation. But through them, they're talking, some of the other girls wake up, mainly Pepper. And she is pissed. And so
Yeah.
she's like stepping on everybody and like getting mad and causing a big ruckus. Well, that's what then wakes up Miss Hannigan. And she comes in. And of course, at this point, it's the middle of the night. We're all waking up and we're going to start cleaning. Fun fact, I want to say really quick before we go any further, Eileen Quinn had to dye her hair red because her natural hair was brown and it was visible through the wig. So they wanted to make sure none of her brown hair was coming through. So she had to dye her hair red. So
we should have dyed your hair red when
Yeah.
you had the wig with
I
your
would have loved it.
Annie dress.
Let
You
me
know
just
Or go ahead, Savannah.
let,
'cause
I was just say, let me just say, I feel like Eileen Quinn is such like when I think of Annie, I just think of her. Like
The perfect
she
one.
looks like she is so perfect for it. Like she just looks like Annie, the little orphan Annie.
Mhm.
Everybody else, like it doesn't matter, all of the Broadway girls are great. Any like other production, like it's great, but like she is Annie, and
She
she
is.
just has like this timeless look about her where it's like she will, just always
She's
be Annie.
It's like she's adorable, yet she can be really scruffy and scrappy
Scruffy,
looking.
yeah.
but also so cute dressed up. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
she's both. But I always felt like when it was really interesting when I would watch it and this first scene would come on and her hair was just a mess. Like that
Oh.
always kind of bothered me.
I always thought it looked like our Aunt Pat's hair. It looked like Aunt Pat's hair, like when she had been out
Stop!
cleaning or whatever, and she would be outside and the wind would be blowing. Don't you think it reminds you?
And now that you say that, I see it. Like
God
that's
rest her soul.
I
see
used to
it.
be really scared of Pepper. Like I always thought Pepper was always really, really mean. Like maybe
yes.
it's because they had her looking real scruffy, but like Pepper scared me.
Well, and she was the older one. So
And she wasn't cute. Like I feel like all the other little orphans, like they were cute, but like Pepper was just like
Kind of.
Yeah, but I feel like you end up
Bully.
liking her in the end.
I agree, Maddie.
That
And
is
we'll-
so true, Madison.
As we get closer to them, we can talk about why, but I think so too. I
So,
agree.
Amanda, you had just said they wake up Miss Hannigan
Mhm.
and have to start cleaning.
Mhm.
And then
Hey.
what happens?
Well, this is I'm probably going to say it more than once, but this is my favorite part.
It is
It's my
mine
favorite part.
too.
me too. Me too.
How about you,
When-
Madison? Do we get a?
I said it was my favorite.
Oh, okay. Good, good.
When these orphans bust out into Hard Knock Life,
It's the best.
I just like Madison, there was something you said the other day when we were watching it. I was saying that this is truly some of the most amazing like musical
It's
theater
like perfect.
Yeah.
choreography.
They use their space well.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Like the space they had, and they used it so creatively, and in such an interesting way, like in every shot.
And they also use like their selves in like a good way. Like with all
Like
the
in a creative
dancing.
way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
have a question for Madison. Madison, when you did this the last time you girls were in the performance, I can remember just thinking like it had to be like clockwork because like you would do something and then someone else would do something right after it. How hard of a scene is that to do? Talk to us about that.
I think it's like one of the hardest ones I ever did because you have to, or at least in the music or in the theater, you have to like have buckets, mops, move beds, move sheets, like it's
all got to
insane.
work like clockwork.
Yeah,
Right,
like
to
if
the
one-
beat of the
'Cause if-
music.
Because if you move a bed wrong and it lands on someone's foot, and if you don't hit the bucket at the right time, it's just like everything's messed up.
Yeah.
I mean,
and there's
it's
no
fascinating on the movie screen, but when you think about watching it live with
Mhm.
local girls putting on an incredible performance, you're like, dang, that's something.
Well, I was just about to say, a musical theater, you don't get a take two, right?
Right.
Like if you mess up, it's just what it is. So, yeah, we were proud of them doing that. But it was just I mean, as a
It
child watching it and watching, I remember one of my favorite parts is when they dump the water off the fire escape.
Yes.
And the girl's like spinning, she's
Twirling
holding onto the
around.
towel and she's twirling around. And it's such a cool,
I
cool
feel
bit.
like it's a moment that it's like meant to be like you're supposed to see like how awful their life is, like they're scrubbing and cleaning, but yet like it's just like also like kind of like watching what is it like not Cirque du Soleil. Like I feel like that's what it's like. There's just like a show. It's so
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you know, even in that moment, they're singing "It's a Hard Knock Life," but they're also filled with joy in that moment.
Right.
And there's camaraderie between the
Mhm.
girls, and they're like, "It's a hard knock life," but man, we're still getting
We're a
through
team.
it. Yeah.
hmm hmm Yeah. That's just such an iconic song and moment.
Yeah.
So
Well, after that, Annie is going to make the escape. She's
Mhm.
leaving the orphanage. She's going to find her parents. And who does she find as she's out and about in the town? She finds Sandy. Sandy. And that is just before she gets captured by police. Now, a fascinating fact is they had two dogs that played Sandy. I don't know both of their names, but Bingo was the name of Sandy, who did the most dramatic scenes and did the stunt work like jumping into the pool, etc.
Well, also, Missy, I read that, and it maybe this is something she did with Bingo because it didn't say that, but I read that Eileen Quinn, when she was auditioning, she got Sandy to give her a kiss on the cheek because she rubbed an apple on her cheek
I read that.
beforehand. To
I
to
read
Oh,
get to
that.
get in good graces with Sandy with the dog, which I thought was a very smart idea
It was such a good idea. The
on her part.
the the song that she sang, Sandy, and also the song Dumb Dog and Let's Go to the Movies, and We've Got Andy and Sign, those were all written specifically for the movie. So that's what I would have considered an original song.
hmm
Me
But
too.
I don't
You know
know.
what I would wonder? So in the musical, when she gets after she jumps into Mr. Bundle's cart and rolls out, um, this is when she finds Sandy. This is when she sings Tomorrow. Like it's
That's
early on, and it's
right.
like it's a huge like it's like she's in the it's just her and Sandy.
This is
So
in
I
the play
wonder.
version, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And
okay.
so I wonder why they decided to change it and to write a different song. I just would be curious to know like the why. Um,
Maybe it has to do with how they wanted to move the storyline along in the
mhm.
movie.
Yeah. I
Well,
don't know.
it was good. Well, she doesn't get away despite trying. The police recognize her as a runaway orphan and they take her back to Mrs. Hannigan.
Hannigan. And y'all, Miss Hannigan, I know she's supposed to be like, it's Carol Burnett. I know she's supposed to be mean, but you laugh at her through the whole movie.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we go back to the orphanage, and, she's, of course, mad. They found Annie, and that makes her so mad. But the policeman is the one who brings her. And she is put, laying it on the policeman, trying to
Flirting.
yeah,
Mhm.
flirting, trying to get him to come in. And I think Pepper's the one at the door. She's like, kissy, kissy, kissy. And she's just like, wow. She's just hilarious. But you can tell that she's like in this position and not very nice, but I think it's more about her own position in life and her own like wanting for a man and all that instead, she doesn't want to be stuck with all these orphans and taking care of them. Like that's her
So
own.
here's a profound side note. Don't you think that most people who are bitter and act the way Miss Hannigan act in life, it usually is about something they've been through?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think,
Mhm.
girls?
Mhm.
I agree.
Mhm.
The next thing we see is Grace Farrell arrives. And it's funny, I missed in research that y'all said she had been on in Chicago because
Hmm.
she's so like school marmish in this movie. Like there's nothing like seductive, especially in
And
these first scenes, like seductive or playful about her. She gets there, she's got work to do, and she's at the orphanage to get an orphan to spend time with Daddy Warbucks. And Miss Hannigan, does she not do everything she can to try to get Grace to choose
A
anybody
different
other
orphan.
than Annie? But Grace insists, and I love how Annie's like playing with her, like behind Hannigan's back to like choose me, pick me, kind of thing.
Yes.
I love that part. It is like, I mean, when she's like does the age thing and she keeps
Hmm.
counting up and she's just sitting there like going down and going up and
Oh
oh, it's
yes.
precious. And then she like spells Mississippi. I just think it's
Because
I just
she's
think
like,
it's
he wants
precious.
someone that's smart, and she spells Mississippi. And she's the reason she's in Miss Hannigan's office. She's in the closet. She's being punished
Oh,
for
that's
her
right.
escape. So that's why she's even in there to begin with.
It's so funny.
So it just kind of worked out for her. But Missy, I think more when I think of Grace, I think more of like, and not school marm, but more of like nothing but class.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the epitome
Yeah,
of
she's
class.
class. I don't mean like a slouchy school marm, but like she's just
You
like
just mean
all buttoned
serious.
up and
She
serious and
is.
like she's there and you know, I don't know. She's
She's
just so
serious
serious.
business. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
she's
she's
got that.
got
I
a
mean, like,
job to do.
I think about the style of that time period, and I'm like, oh man, she was class
Yeah.
for sure. for
I
sure.
think she looks so pretty in this scene.
Oh, I know, with that suit, and she's just, yeah. And I think she's probably very intimidating to Miss Hannigan.
Oh yeah, like everything she's not.
Exactly. Everything she's not. And of course
Yes, that is so true. I've never thought about that.
it is. That's a really good point. Everything she's not. Well,
Yes.
Grace decides she's going to take Annie. And so they end up headed to the mansion. And y'all, they get to this mansion, and she is just so welcomed. Everybody's so excited to meet Annie. And she immediately, it's the cutest thing because Grace is like, well, what do you want to do first? And she walks over to the mop bucket and she's like,
I know.
well, I guess I'll start with the floors. And they're like, no, you don't have to work. And of course, that's when they break out into another number that I love. I think I'm going to like it here.
I love that too.
Oh, and again, to Maddie's point, it's interesting because I was looking up information about the choreographer because I thought there would be more about the choreographer, and I didn't get anything except that's who the choreographer was. But I think again, to Maddie's point of the use of space, same thing in this number, like using the mansion and the benches and the mops. And
Yes.
it's the same sort of idea as Hard Knock Life, but in the mansion.
Yeah.
Yes. Y'all are going to laugh at me because this might not make it all sense. But what I think about, and I know I'm not going to say this right, real fans and my husband would correct me, but you know, those they're like robo-chucking toys or something, not toys, but like where the dominoes fall and they hit something and they hit something. Like those
it's like the thing Dylan and Jacob had to make for their science project.
Yes, I
y'all.
can't think of the name, and I'm
like the
sorry.
dominoes.
Yes, but that is to me what those scenes are like because
Just
one thing triggers another and it all just flows. And I don't know, it makes me think of that every time I watch it.
That is exactly what it's like. That's a really
okay, well,
point. I never
good.
thought about that.
Good.
We got to I got to find out that Dylan and Jacob both had to do one of those for a project. So I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of the name.
And do they sing We've Got Annie just before they sing I Think I'm Gonna Like It Here?
They
No.
don't sing that till later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because that's like they've got Annie because like they're gonna
adopt
Oh, they're
her.
keeping her. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
They sing I think I'm gonna like it here.
And
Okay.
I also love in this number, we get introduced to a lot of the staff, right?
Yes.
Ring for Drake, Mrs. Pugh. Like we kind of get to know some of them through this.
And
song, which is
Punjab.
And Punjab.
And Punja.
When he comes out and he
Punjab, not Punjab.
Punjab.
It's Punjab.
when he comes out and he like silences Sandy, he's like
Silent.
just with his hand. It just makes like but he's not in the musical. And I feel like I think that I like that his little character is movie only. I think that's I don't know. I just like it.
Yeah. I don't know that it would really it would really translate in the musical.
Yeah.
to say it.
Well, guess who comes home from the office? Daddy Warbucks. Yep. And he's surprised to see Annie. He's initially, wouldn't y'all say, a little bit cold and businesslike, right? He's got to focus on his work. But
For sure.
Sweet Grace, she encourages him, go spend a little time with her, right? Go spend a little time. And
Well, let me just tell you.
Did he want a boy?
He wanted
Yes, he wanted a boy
That's
at
right.
first. He was like, an orphan. An orphan's not a girl. An orphan's a boy. And
Yes.
she's like, well, and Annie's like, well, I'm a girl. And Grace is, he gets busy because that's when they bring in the Mona Lisa.
yes.
And he gets
Yeah.
distracted by looking at the Mona Lisa and starts thinking about work. And next thing you know, Grace is like, well, can she stay? And he's like, I don't care, whatever. Just keep her out of my way. And
Yeah.
so they're like, yay,
But
but stay. But then of course,
pretty soon after that is when he takes Annie out to New York City for the grand tour.
yes. But Savannah, I have to call on you to talk about this because before the whole reason they go out to New York City is the part you were talking about today that you love so much with Punjab.
It is?
Yes, that's what
Okay, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of like when they're in the hell. Sorry.
Mm-mm.
So I think I don't know why, but this part always sticks out to me. Annie's like running through the office and she's got a little airplane on and she's wearing her cute little blue outfit. And Putin, there's like a bomb that was thrown into the mansion. And so Punjab picks up the bomb and starts twirling it around in circles and then like launches it out the window. He's like dance. It's just like the most like
It's really funny.
it's so funny. I wish I could like reenact for you like how he does it because he just does it like so gracefully. But then they're like, we have to go out, and I love that they do. I like this musical number in the movie more than I do the musical. In the musical, it's just the NYC number. I love the Rockettes in the movie. I think it is so well done and the song is so perfect. I really love it.
And we all saw the Rockettes together, so that brings up a memory
We did,
right
sister.
there. That
We
was
did.
so good.
That's
I know
great.
Madison was sitting next to me during that, and
Mhm.
I remember Madison when they were doing the processional toward baby Jesus
Mhm.
in the Rockettes Christmas show. And I just could remember you saying to me over and over, "Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. This is just so good." And we were all just amazed at how really great they were. The
Yeah.
Rockettes were in that Christmas show
That was
was.
fabulous. Maddie, did you see it again when you went to
I
New
did.
York?
I
And was
saw
it
it.
still,
Yeah,
they still had the
still had it.
processional? Wow, that's great.
And I think we should say the reason we were there is because Savannah was singing on the stage prior to the Rockettes coming out.
I
Yes, she
was.
was.
Did y'all? I actually didn't think the Rockettes were real because of this movie. Like,
Oh, you
I
thought it was just a
Oh.
movie
Same.
I
thing.
thought it was. I thought they weren't real. I thought it was because for the movie. So
Oh,
whenever
you thought
when
that
we were
too, Maddie?
younger,
I was like, who are these people?
when we were younger and they talk about the Rockettes, I would just think like, oh, like I don't know. In my mind, I was like, oh, they're talking about the girls from Annie. I don't know. It just never correlated to me.
That
Like,
they
I
were
guess
like real dancers.
yes, that it was like a real thing in like Radio City Music Hall. They still performed. So
Yeah, I could totally see that. Well, the other thing that I thought was cool about this part is when they go to the movies, he says, Punjab, or I think it's Punjab, or maybe he tells Grace, to call Rockefeller Center and rent out the 8 o'clock or buy out the 8 o'clock. Let's all go to the movie. So it's just them in the theater.
Yeah.
He's bought out the whole Rockefeller Center. Which probably contributed to cost because I believe they filmed it in Rockefeller Center.
Probably so.
So that probably
Hiked
contributed
that
to some of
budget right up.
right on up. But during this little adventure, this is when he kind of softens towards her a little bit. I think seeing the city through her eyes,
Yeah.
and then they get home and they tuck her into
I
bed.
love
and
that part.
They put the little nightgown on her, and
Yeah.
he's just like, wow, it was just this whole new world to him that he didn't know about.
Well, you're right, sister. His heart did soften toward her so much that he wanted to adopt her, but she had to let him know that she couldn't be adopted because she was still waiting on her parents to come back and get her. And she shared the story, didn't she?
Yes, of the locket.
Yes.
And she was very kind. And, it was actually Grace that was like, at first, like, can we please adopt her?
Yes.
Because Grace has fallen in love. And we see not only Daddy Warbuck softening to Annie,
Yes.
But to
indeed.
Grace.
and she, in this scene, it's so funny, Missy, because you were talking about the way she looked when she first went to the orphanage. She looks very different now.
She
Her hair's
does.
down.
Softening.
She's wearing a flowy dress.
Yes.
And they have that great number. We got Annie. And
yes.
oh, she is a dancing queen.
Yes, and her like dancing was off the charts. I mean, it was pretty amazing. And I think it's such a contrast from the rest of her character. I mean, we see a little bit of it whenever she's getting ready for the movies with Annie, but I also know so like Annie breaks the news about her parents because of the locket, and because she's just so hopeful that but Miss Hannigan knows the full story, right? Like I'm pretty sure that, right, Mom?
Yeah. So
Because she has all the documents, but
Yes.
Annie doesn't know that yet.
right. Annie just has the locket. and she thinks her parents are still alive. And so
Yes.
she's telling Daddy Warbucks,
You can't adopt me
you can't adopt me because my
because I,
folks
mhm.
have the other piece of this locket and they're going to come get me.
And
And
that's what
so,
they use for the reward. They're like, this will
yes.
be our proof. And so
Yeah,
all of the people know that, and all of those people,
exactly.
they come
So,
in with all the lockets.
hmm so that's when he says, okay, well, we're going to help you. You don't want us to adopt you. We're going to help you. We're going to offer a $50,000 reward for your real parents. And this is also when they go to the Bert Healy show and they go on the
Yes.
radio. And that's when they announce we're going to offer this $50,000 reward. And that's also when we get the orphans in the scene next to it. They're listening to Bert
Yes,
Healy
I loved
and they
that.
sing You're Never Fully Dressed, which is
I love that.
precious. But that's how they find out where Annie is because they get the address and what's going on with the whole offering the reward for Annie. So they hear that. And so they've got that information.
And then we see a scheme beginning to form between Miss Hannigan, her brother Rooster, and the character that Savannah Banana played, his girlfriend Lily. And they are plotting to claim that reward. They're going to pose as Annie's parents with fake documents. And Miss Hannigan provides them with the personal details, aka the locket, what they need to help tell the story.
And they actually, she has Annie's birth certificate. Like she
Yeah.
has what she needs. And this is also where we get the amazing Easy Street. Easy
That is such a
Street.
great role. And Savannah, you did it so well. You were so funny in that role, and you're so talented with your singing. Like, that was great to watch.
That was such a fun time. Even though it's like a smaller number, I know Maddie like talked about the space a lot and some of the bigger numbers. Even though it's just the three of them, I still feel like they use the space so well. And I think that it's just like the chemistry between all three of those actors is so amazing. And I think it's what every trio who plays Miss Hannigan, Lily St. Regis, and Rooster, every actor who's ever tried to play that really look at those three and replicate it because it's just so specific and so special, and it's very like crucial, I think, to the way they're villains, but also like not like villains in the sense of it's just kind of comedy at the same time, but they're also
Yes.
really bad.
Yeah, I totally agree
So
with that.
good. I felt like we're like getting insight from a pro there.
Well, the other thing I think is I read about this is Easy Street was actually supposed to be like when I think of Easy Street in the movie, I think of it as a big number. But it was actually supposed to be an even bigger number. They were supposed to take it out to the street and have like all the like street people. It was supposed to have like hundreds of extras like dancing and stuff with them, which they didn't do.
Interesting.
But I love it the way it is. So, yeah, they have to disguise themselves as Annie's parents and they show up to claim the reward. So it got kind of crazy with all these people from New York coming to get the reward. And so they got Annie out of the house. That's actually when they took her to meet the president.
Yes.
But when they came back from that, she was like, "Did you find my parents?" They didn't. But soon enough, Rooster and Lily show up dressed up and disguised as Annie's parents. And they have all the right documents and they have the locket. And not only are Grace and Daddy Warbucks skeptical, Annie's skeptical. Like
Yeah.
as soon as she walks in and Lily St. Regis is like, "My Annie, my baby." And she hugs her. Annie's immediately just like, "Oh."
Stranger danger.
I also feel like Annie like grew to love Daddy Warbucks so much, but she was like, wait, I don't know if I want to go with these people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I always took it as like she was just like, wait, I don't like this idea. Never mind, I don't want to leave. And she's like, well, I can't say no to my
I can't
parents.
back out now.
I know.
And they also had the worst thing. Their names were their last name was Mudge. I can't remember what they were calling themselves.
Oh, what was it? Was it like
I don't
Oh, I
know,
don't
but it was
remember.
something Mudge, and
Yeah,
it was like
bad
the
names,
worst.
bad
Mhm.
Yeah.
names for
But of course,
sure.
they had all the proof, and so Annie went with them.
Which basically was a kidnapping, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They get the reward money and they leave, or they set up to get the reward money.
No, they got the reward money.
Okay. I don't know why for some reason I was like, did they leave and come back? So they
Uh-uh.
leave and then they're not too far gone and Annie realizes she's in danger and she tries to escape. And what happens then, Savannah, since you love Punjab?
I love Punjab. And he this is whenever Annie is climbing up on the
Train
like
tracks.
train tracks, but I guess it's also like a drawbridge.
It's a drawbridge train
It's
tracks.
scared. I remember watching this and being so scared. Like, I think that it's a little bit more intense than the musical. Like, it definitely has a little bit more
For
of like this
sure.
movie
Mm-hmm.
action feel because, like, I mean, she's running up that thing and Rooster's following behind her and like there's nowhere to go and your hands are sweating. It's intense, but
There's nowhere to go but up.
yeah, exactly. And Punjab is on the helicopter and he comes and gets Annie and like, you know, it's just the
Tracks are down.
sweetest. But I also love this part because Miss Hannigan, I feel like everyone already loves Miss Hannigan a little bit. Like she's the comedic relief, though she's like the bad guy. She's like the comedic relief. I feel like Rooster's the true villain of the story. And when she realizes like the danger Annie really is in, um, I think she's like, oh, this is, like I love that little girl, even though she annoys me. Like I don't want her to be dead. I just wanted the money. And
Exactly.
I think that speaks to what we were talking about earlier, how she's just unhappy with her like
Mm-hmm.
own self. She's not mad. She doesn't hate these girls. She just doesn't like the situation she's in. And now that she's got her money, she's like, I like my life, and she realizes, oh, like I love this little girl versus Rooster. His intentions are like, well, I don't
Well,
care about nothing.
yeah,
I'm going to kill her.
Yeah.
he starts chasing her and says, I'm going to kill you. And she's like, he's really going to kill her. And she's pulling him down. And that's when he falls and he actually like punches her out.
It's crazy.
And so it's like her redeeming moment,
Yeah.
sort
Mhm.
I
of.
agree.
I think Mrs. Hannigan just liked making a sport out of being a curmudgeon.
I do too.
I think
Like,
she just
that was just
liked,
part of
she was just who she was, and she just wanted to be over the top mean, but maybe she really wasn't. But she needed a redeeming moment. So I was glad
Yes.
we got it. And then, of course, Annie is reunited with Daddy Warbucks and Grace.
hmm And once they are reunited, we have this huge party at the mansion. Of course, Daddy E is now going to adopt her. He buys her a brand
Daddy
new
E?
Daddy E.
$4. Sorry, real fans. That's what my girls call their dad, Daddy E. And so not Daddy Warbucks is gonna adopt her, and
Yes.
he gives her the new locket, and she's got another Annie red dress, except this one's a little more fancy. It's got like a cute little collar and a little flower. And she taps and he taps. And I remember watching this
In
little
her little
girl.
red dress.
That's what I remember watching as a little girl and being like, oh my gosh, they have like renovated this whole mansion with the
Yes.
lights and
Yes.
it was like a carnival at the house. It was amazing. And you get to see all the other orphans are there because
Yes.
we did skip. They were a huge part of Annie's rescue because they knew what was going on with Rooster and Lily and Miss Hannigan. So they snuck out of the orphanage and went
Yeah.
all the way to Daddy Warbucks' house to say,
To get her.
That's
say-
true friendship, girls.
And
I
that
think-
Madison brings back the
Mhm.
thing with Pepper because Pepper really leads the charge on that of them going to save Annie. So that was another like redeeming moment, but it is so amazing. They sing together at last, but then she also sings tomorrow and there's fireworks and the other orphans are there. And who do we see riding in on an elephant?
Miss Hannigan.
Miss Hannigan.
Yeah. Yeah. She comes in and she's like, oh, and the other orphans are there. And Maddie, when we were watching it the other day, we kind of got tickled with the other orphans, remember?
Yeah.
Because they're like behind the scenes, like, Annie, and she's she's like famous, and they're like, it's like kind of
They're like fans.
yes, they're like her fans. It's really funny. We kind of got tickled
so
about it.
good. It's so good. Anything else to bring up before we talk about if it measures up to today? I don't want to rush anybody. I don't want to rush my sister's favorite movie of her childhood.
I don't think so. I mean, I always thought it was really cool at the end when they had the fireworks.
And
you know, in
there
the
were
sky.
some bucks spinning that, speaking of the budget.
It was on a screen. I noticed. I was really like this time. You could really tell. Like,
Oh, really?
It was,
I didn't.
It was on a screen.
I suspended belief.
But it just, I mean, from the moment this movie starts, it immediately takes me back to our living room on the orange carpet with the TV on the ground and me, you know, mama being like, Annie's going to be on tonight. And I got to have the TV for the night. Like if Annie was on, if it was going to be on for a special, you know, Monday night movie or whatever, I was going to get to watch that. Yeah. So it just took me
do
back
you
to
think,
that time.
sister, it still measures up?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Madison? Do you think it measures up to the movies of today?
Like, do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Why would you say that? Like, why do you think it is still entertaining?
Just like a classic. I just think all the older movies are classics. Like it's nostalgic for everyone.
Yes.
Oh, it is. It is.
That's why we're doing this podcast. Sorry to Amanda.
That's right. Well, I also think, again, this is like some of the other ones we've talked about. I say this every time. It's not of the time period of the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not an 80s movie.
Right.
It's
what is the time period?
30s.
Yeah, the 30s.
Great Depression. It's during the Depression. That's why there's so
many like
there's no money.
No money. And then remember, there's one point where I don't remember if it's Grace or Daddy Warbucks is kind of threatening Miss Hannigan's job, and they're like, it's a really bad time to be out of work. Which is true. So she should have been grateful for that job.
I also think it just resonates so well with like, it's not like a little kid movie, but it's also not like a, you know, it's just such a heartwarming movie for everybody,
for all the generations.
For all the generations. And you know, I just think it's just like it's a good one. And I also think having like the comic strip and also, you know, being a song that so many little girls learn, you know, when you're in dance classes or voice lessons as a little girl, everyone thinks of Tomorrow because it's like, you know, it's Little Orphan Annie. And so I think it's just something that resonates, or not resonates, but people, I guess, like, you know because of just doing stuff with Annie because of how big it became.
Okay, Savannah. Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot, not to do it now, but will you pick your favorite song from the movie and sing it like into your phone, and let's get it over to Brandon, and we'll leave the episode with you singing.
Sure.
And you might let your mom tell you her favorite song or something. But if you would do that, I think it would be such a treat for our real fans.
Okay, I'll do it. Maddie, you want to do it with me?
No.
You knew the answer to that before you asked.
Thanks. But yeah, it's definitely. And one other thing to add to what you said, Savannah, it's I think it has something for kids and adults alike. It's not, you can definitely, as a parent, watch this with your kids and enjoy it.
Yes.
So it measures up. I think it is safe to say Annie brought all the heart, hope, and hard knocks we could ask for. Thank you, girls, so much for taking your afternoons to join us. This has made it so special.
Did y'all have fun?
Oh, yeah, this was so fun. I mean,
I just think it's, Amanda, you just said it's so special, but it really is, because this movie's so special to you as a little girl, and then these are your girls. And so,
I remember
Savannah, I was just about to ask you if you'd come back, and you said y'all would come back. So we'll do another.
Oh, we'll come
back. Maddie, would you come back, Maddie?
You know,
just say yes, Madison.
Yeah.
The one I would invite y'all to come back to is Goonies.
Oh, Mama Lottie introduced us to that movie.
We
Yeah.
used to
That
watch
was our
Goonies,
Mama
like,
Lottie movie.
every single,
I know.
all the time.
Yeah.
That's why I thought y'all might like to do it with us because a lot of people have requested to do Goonies with us.
Yeah. Well, and next week we're switching gears completely, but this time we're taking a deep dive into teenage romance filled with, of course, 80s nostalgia.
And maybe even a journey of self-discovery. But real fans, it's time for the clues. So let's see if you can guess what movie we're rewinding next week. And this is one of my favorite movies of the 80s.
So I think
Hands
it's a lot of
down.
people's favorite movie.
I
So
love it so much.
this movie shows a determined guy who isn't afraid to wear his heart on his sleeve and hold it above his head.
Iconic. Iconic. Is clue number 2 a father who seems perfect until some secrets come to light?
And clue number 3, a graduation speech that asks, "What do I really want to do?" And a bonus clue, there's a moment in this movie that's so iconic, it redefined a grand gesture in 1980 cinema.
Yep. And I just got chills thinking about it.
Oh
I
my
love
gosh,
it
that's
so
so
much.
funny.
And the soundtrack. Oh, amazing. Think you got it? Don't forget to message us with your guess.
And if you're loving the show, make sure you subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and send a screenshot to hello@realsistersrewind.com. We'll send out some love by sending you one of our stickers. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Bye,
Savannah,
girls.
sing us out.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.